Aaraaf by Edgar Allan Poe. Part Roman 1. Oh, nothing earthly save the ray thrown back from flowers of beauty's eye as, in those gardens, where the day springs from the gems of Circassy. Oh, nothing earthly save the thrill of melody, in woodland rill or music of the passion-hearted joy's voice, so peacefully departed, that like the murmur in the shell its echo dwelleth, and will dwell. Oh, nothing of the dross of hours, yet all the beauty, all the flowers, that list our love and deck our bowers, adorn yon world afar, afar the wandering star. 'Twas a sweet time for Nesace, for there her world lay lolling on the golden air, near four bright suns, a temporary rest, an oasis in desert of the blessed. A star was discovered by Tycho Brahe, which appeared suddenly in the heaven, sat in a few days, a brilliancy surpassing that of Jupiter, then as suddenly disappeared, and has never been seen since. Away, away mid seas of rays that roll empyrean splendor o'er unchained soul, the soul that scarce the billows are so dense can struggle to its destined eminence, to distant spheres from time to time. She rode, and late to hours the favored one of God, but now the ruler of an anchored realm. She throws aside the sceptre, leaves the helm, and amid incense and high spiritual hymns laves in quadruple light her angel limbs. Now happiest, loveliest in yon lovely earth, whence sprang the idea of beauty into birth, falling in wreaths, throw many a startled star like woman's hair mid pearls, until afar it lit on hills a Chaean, and there dwelt. She looked into infinity and knelt. Rich clouds for canopies about her curled, fit emblems of the model of her world seen, but in beauty not impeding sight of other beauty glittering, throw the light, a wreath that twined each starry form around, and all the opaled air in color bound. All hurriedly she knelt upon a bed of flowers of lilies, such as reared the head on the fair Capo Ducato, and sprang so eagerly around, about to hang upon the flying footsteps, off deep pride of her, who loved a mortal and so died. The cephalica budding, with young bees, upreared its purple stem around her knees. On Santa Moriolem Ducadia, and gemmy flower of Trebizond, misnamed inmate of highest stars, where erst it shammed all other loveliness, its honeyed dew, the fabled nectar, that the heathen knew deliriously sweet, was dropped from heaven, and fell on gardens of the unforgiven in Trebizond, and on a sunny flower, so like its own above that to this hour, it still remaineth, torturing the bee with madness and unwonted reverie in heaven, and all its environs the leaf and blossom of the fairy plant, in grief disconsolate. Linger grief that hangs her head, repenting follies that full long have fled, heaving her white breast to the balmy air, like guilty beauty chastened, and more fair nictans, too as sacred as the light she fears to perfuming the night, and Clytia pondering between many a sun, while pettish tears adown her petals run, and that aspiring flower that sprang on earth and died ere scarce, exalted into birth, bursting its odorous heart in spirit, to wing its way to heaven from garden of a king. This flower is much noticed by Leeuwenhoek and Tournefort. The bee, feeding upon its blossom, becomes intoxicated. Clytia, the chrysanthemum peruvianum, or to employ a better-known term, the turnsel which continually turns towards the sun, covers itself, like Peru the country, from which it comes, with dewy clouds, which cool and refresh its flowers during the most violent heat of the day. Bee descent. There is cultivated in the King's Garden at Paris a species of serpentine aloes without prickles, whose large and beautiful flower exhales a strong odor of the vanilla during the time of its expansion, which is very short. It does not blow till towards the month of Juillet, then perceive it gradually open its petals, expand them, fade, and die. And Vallisnerian lotus, thither flown from struggling with the waters of the Rhone, and thy most lovely purple perfume, Zante, Isola d'oro, fior di Levante, and the Nelumbo bud that floats forever with Indian Cupid down the holy river, fair flowers and fairy, to whose care is given to bear the goddess song in odors up to heaven. Spirit that dwellest, where in the deep sky the terrible and fair in beauty vie. Beyond the line of blue, the boundary of the star, which turneth at the view of thy barrier, and thy bar of the barrier, overgone by the comets who were cast from their pride, and from their throne to be drudges, till the last to be carriers of fire, the red fire of their heart, with speed that may not tire, and with pain that shall not part. There is found in the Rhone a beautiful lily of the Vallisnerian kind. Its stem will stretch to the length of 3 or 4 feet. Thus, preserving its head above water in the swellings of the river. The hyacinth. It is a fiction of the Indians that Cupid was first seen floating in one of these down the river Gangesand, that he still loves the cradle of his childhood, and golden vials full of odors which are the prayers of the saints. Rev. St. John, who lives that we know in eternity feel, but the shadow of whose brow what spirit shall reveal. Though the beings whom thy Nesace, thy messenger, hath known have dreamed for thy infinity a model of their own, thy will is done, O God. The star hath ridden high through many a tempest, but she rode beneath thy burning eye, and here, in thought to thee in thought, that can alone ascend thy empire, and so be a partner of thy throne. The humanitarians held that God was to be understood as having a really human form, V.D. Clarke's Sermons Vol. 1 page 26, Fall edit. The drift of Milton's argument leads him to employ language which would appear at first sight to verge upon their doctrine, but it will be seen immediately that he guards himself against the charge of having adopted one of the most ignorant errors of the dark ages of the church doctor. Sumner's notes on Milton's Christian doctrine. This opinion, in spite of many testimonies to the contrary, could never have been very general. Andius, a Syrian of Mesopotamia, was condemned for the opinion. As heretical he lived in the beginning of the 4th century. His disciples were called anthropomorphites, vide Dupin. Among Milton's poems are these lines: Dicite, sacrorum PR sides, nemorum de Roman 100 quis ille, primus cujus ex imagine natura solars, finxit humanum genus. Eternus incorruptus, quivus polo anusc et universis exemplar Dei, and afterwards non cui profundum cecitas lumen dedit Dircus, augur vidit hunc alto sinu, Roman 100, by winged fantasy, my embassy is given till secrecy shall knowledge be in the environs of heaven. She ceased and buried, then her burning cheek abashed amid the lilies, there to seek a shelter from the fervor of his eye, for the stars trembled at the deity. She stirred not, breathed not, for a voice was there, how solemnly pervading the calm air. A sound of silence on the startled ear, which dreamy poets name the music of the sphere. Ours is a world of words, quiet we call silence. Uhich is the merest word of all. All nature speaks, and even ideal things flap shadowy sounds from visionary wings, but are not so when thus in realms on high the eternal voice of God is passing by, and the red winds are withering in the sky. What though in worlds which sightless cycles run linked to a little system, and one sun where all my love is folly, and the crowd still think my terrors, but the thunder cloud the storm, the earthquake, and the ocean wrath, will they cross me in my angrier path? What though in worlds which own a single sun, the sands of time grow dimmer as they run? Seltsamen, tochter Javasenum, skaskend der fantasy go. Sightless too small, to be seen leg. Yet thine is my resplendency, so given to bear my secrets, through the upper heaven. Leave tenantless thy crystal home, and fly, with all thy train athwart the moony sky, apart like fireflies in Sicilian night, and wing to other worlds another light. Divulge the secrets of thy embassy to the proud orbs that twinklinged, so be to every heart a barrier, and a ban lest the stars totter in the guilt of man. Uprose the maiden in the yellow night, the single-mooned eve on earth. We plight our faith to one love and one moon, adore the birthplace of young beauty had no more. As sprang that yellow star from downy hours up, rose the maiden from her shrine of flowers, and bent o'er a sheeny mountain and dim plain her way, but left not yet her the Racine rain. I have often noticed a peculiar movement of the fireflies. They will collect in a body and fly off from a common center into innumerable radii. The Rasa or the Racia, the island mentioned by Seneca, which in a moment arose from the sea to the eyes of astonished mariners. Part Roman too high on a mountain of enameled head, such as the drowsy shepherd on his bed of giant pasturage, lying at his ease, raising his heavy eyelid starts, and sees with many a muttered hope to be forgiven what time the moon is quadrated in heaven of rosy head, that towering far away into the sunlit ether. Caught the ray of sunken suns at eve at noon of night, while the moon danked with the fair stranger light, upreared upon such height, arose a pile of gorgeous columns on unburthened air, flashing from Parian marble, that twins smile far down upon the wave that sparkled there, and nursled the young mountain in its lit. Of molten stars their pavement, such as fall thro' the ebon air, besilvering the pall of their own dissolution, while they die adorning then the dwellings of the sky. A dome by linked light from heaven let down sat gently on these columns, as a crown a window of one circular diamond, there looked out above into the purple air. Some star which from the ruined roof of shacked Olympus, by mischance, did fall Milton, and rays from God shot down that meteor chain, and hallowed all the beauty twice again save, when between Empyrean and that ring some eager spirit flapped his dusky wing. But on the pillars seraph eyes have seen the dimness of this world, that grayish green that nature loves the best for beauty's grave, lurked in each cornice round each architrave, and every sculptured cherub thereabout that from his marble dwelling peered out seemed earthly in the shadow of his niche Achaean statues in a world so rich. Friezes from Tadmor and Persepolis from Baalbec, and the stilly clear abyss of beautiful Gomorrah, oh, the wave is now upon thee but too late to save. Sound loves to revel in a summer night, witness the murmur of the grey twilight. Voltaire, in speaking of Persepolis, says G. canois by en l'admiration, quinspernt ces ruinsmais, un palais erage, au pied d'une chaîne des rochers sterile spute, il etre un chef d'oeuvre des arts. Voilà les arguments de Roman 1000 Voltaire. O the wave Ula de Gusi is the Turkish appellation, but on its own shores it is called Bahar Lath or Olmatana. There were undoubtedly more than 2 cities engulfed in the Dead Sea in the valley of Siddim, were 5 Adra Zebin Zor Sodom, and Gomorrah Stephen of Byzantium mentions 8, and Strabo 13 engulfed, but the last is out of all reason. It is said Tacitus Strabo Josephus Daniel of St. Saba now Mondrel Troilo di Arvia, that after an excessive drought, the vestiges of columns walls Roman are seen above the surface. At any season such remains may be discovered by looking down into the transparent lake, and at such distances as would argue the existence of many settlements in the space now usurped by the asphaltites. That stole upon the ear in Irako of many a wild stargazer long ago, that stealeth ever on the ear of him, who musing gazeth on the distance, Roman 1499, and sees the darkness coming as a cloud, is not its form its voice most palpable and loud. But what is this it comet hand? It brings a music with iddies, the rush of wings a pausined, then a sweeping falling strain, and Nesace is in her halls again. From the wild energy of wanton haste her cheeks were flushing, and her lips apart, and zone that clung around her gentle waist had burst beneath the heaving of her heart. Within the center of that hall to breathe, she paused and panted Xanth, all beneath the fairy light that kissed her golden hair, and longed to rest, yet could but sparkle there. Young flowers were whispering in melody to happy flowers, that night and tree to tree fountains were gushing music, as they fell in many a starlit grove or moonlit dell, yet silence came upon material things, fair flowers, bright waterfalls, and angel wings, and sound alone that from the spirit sprang bore burthen to the charm the maiden sang. Irako Chaldea. I have often thought I could distinctly hear the sound of the darkness as it stole over the horizon. Fairies use flowers for their charactery, merry wives of Windsor William Shakespeare. Neath bluebell or streamer or tufted wild spray that keeps from the dreamer the moonbeam away bright, beings that ponder, with half-closing eyes on the stars which your wonder hath drawn from the skies, till they glance thro' the shade, and come down to your brow licky eyes of the maiden, who calls on you now arise from your dreaming in violet bowers, to duty beseeming these starlit hours, and shake from your tresses, encumbered with dew the breath of those kisses, that cumber them too, oh, how without you love. Could angels be blessed, those kisses of true love, that lulled ye to rest? Upshake from your wing each hindering thing, the dew of the night, it would weigh down your flight, and true love caresses, oh, leave them apart. In Scripture is this passage, the sun shall not harm thee by day, nor the moon by night. It is perhaps not generally known that the moon in Egypt has the effect of producing blindness to those who sleep, with the face exposed to its rays, to which circumstance the passage evidently alludes. They are light on the tresses, but laid on the heart. Ligeia, Ligeia, my beautiful one, whose harshest idea will to melody run, oh, is it thy will on the breezes to toss? Or capriciously still like the lone albatross incumbent on night, as she on the air, to keep watch with delight on the harmony there? Ligeia, whatever thy image, may be no magic, shall sever thy music from thee. Thou hast bound many eyes in a dreamy sleep, but the strains still arise which thy vigilance keep the sound of the rain, which leaps down to the flower, and dances again in the rhythm of the shower, the murmur that springs from the growing of grass. The albatross is said to sleep on the wing. I met with this idea in an old English tale, which I am now unable to obtain and quote from memory the very essence, and as it was springy head and origin of all music, is the very pleasant sound which the trees of the forest do make when they grow. Are the music of things, but are modelled alas away, then my dearest, oh hie thee away to springs that lie clearest beneath the moonray, to lone lake that smiles in its dream of deep, rest at the many star isles that enjewel its breast, where wild flowers creeping have mingled. Their shade on its margin is sleeping full many a maid, some have left the cool glade, and have slept with the bee arouse them, my maiden, on moorland, and Ligo breathe on their slumber all softly in ear, the musical number they slumbered to hear, for what can awaken an angel so soon? The wild bee will not sleep in the shade, if there be moonlight. The rhyme in this verse, as in one about 60 lines before, has an appearance of affectation. It is however imitated from Sir W. Scott, or rather from Claude Halcrane, whose mouth I admired its effect. Oh, were there an island, though ever so wild, where woman might smile, and no man be beguiled. Roman 100, whose sleep hath been taken beneath the cold moon, as the spell which no slumber of witchery may test, the rhythmical number which lulled him to rest. Spirits in wing and angels to the view, 1,000 seraphs burst th empyrean throw young dreams, still hovering on their drowsy flight. Seraphs in all but knowledge, the keen light that fell refracted thro' thy bounds afar. O death, from eye of God upon that star sweet, was that error sweeter still, that death sweet was that error. With us the breath of science dims the mirror of our joy, to them twere the simoom, and would destroy, for what to them availeth it to know that truth is falsehood, or that bliss is woe. Sweet was their death, with them to die was rife with the last ecstasy of satiate life. Beyond that death no immortality, but sleep that pondereth, and is not to be, and thereof may my weary spirit dwell apart from heaven's eternity, and yet how far from hell. With the Arabians there is a medium between heaven and hell, where men suffer no punishment, but yet do not attain that tranquil and even happiness which they suppose to be characteristic of heavenly enjoyment. Unno rompido, suno un dia pura allegra liber quiera, libra de amor zelo de odiode, esperanzade, rezilo Luis Ponce de Leon. Sorrow is not excluded from Aaraaf, but it is that sorrow which the living love to cherish for the dead, and which in some minds resembles the delirium of opium, the passionate excitement of love, and the buoyancy of spirit attendant upon intoxication, are its less holy pleasures, the price of which to those souls who make choice of Aaraaf as their residence after life is final death and annihilation. What guilty spirit, in what shrubbery dim, heard not the stirring summons of that hymn? But too they fell for heaven, no grace imparts to those who hear not for their beating hearts. A maiden angel and her seraph lover, oh where, and ye may seek the wide skies over, was love the blind near sober duty known. Unguided love hath fallen mid tears of perfect moan. He was a goodly spirit, who fell a wanderer by moss-mantled well, a gazer on the lights that shine above a dreamer in the moonbeam. By his love, what wonder, for each star is eye-like there, and looks so sweetly down on beauty's hair, and they in every mossy spring were holy to his love-haunted heart and melancholy. The night had found to him a night of woe. Upon a mountain crag young Angelo beetling it bends athwart the solemn sky, and scowls on starry worlds that down beneath it lie. Here sate he, with his love-high's dark eye bent, with eagle gaze along the firmament, now turned it upon her, but ever then it trembled to the orb of earth again. E'en dearest, see how dim that ray. How lovely 'tis to look so far away. There be tears of perfect moan, wept for thee in Helicon Milton. She seemed not thus upon that autumn eve I left her gorgeous Halsner mourned to leave. That eve that eve I should remember well the sunray dropped in Lemnos, with a spell on th arabesque carving of a gilded hall, wherein I sate, and on the draperied wall, and on my eyelids the heavy light. How drowsily it weighed them into night. On flowers before and mist and love, they ran with Persian Sadi in his Gulistan, but oh that light I slumbered death, the while stole o'er my senses in that lovely isle so softly, that no single silken hair awoke, that slept or knew that it was there. The last spot of earth's orb I trod upon was a proud temple called the Parthenon, more beauty clung around her columned wall, than even thy glowing bosom beats withal. And when old time my wing did disenthrall, thence sprang I as the eagle from his tower, and years I left behind me in an hour. What time upon her airy bounds I hung one half the garden of her globe, was flung unrolling, as a chart, unto my view tenantless cities of the desert too. E'en's beauty crowded on me then, and half I wished to be again of men. My Angelo, and why of them to be? A brighter dwelling place is here for thee. It was in Tyre in 1687, the most elevated spot in Athens, shadowing more beauty in their airy brows than have the white breasts of the Queen of Love Marlow, and greener fields than in yon world above, and women's loveliness and passionate love. But list e'en, when the air so soft failed, as my pen and spirit leapt aloft, perhaps my brain grew dizzy, but the world I left so late was into chaos hurled, sprang from her station on the winds apart, and rolled aflame the fiery heaven athwart. Methought my sweet one, then I ceased to soar, and fell not swiftly as I rose before, but with a downward tremulous motion, throw light brazen, raise this golden star unto. Nor long the measure of my falling hours, for nearest of all stars was thine to ours, dread star, that came amid a night of mirth, a red daedalion on the timid earth. We came unto thy earth, but not to us be given our lady's bidding to discuss. We came, my love, around, above, below, gay firefly of the night, we come, and go nor ask a reason save the angel nod she grants to us as granted by her God. But Angelo, then grey time unfurled, never his fairy wing o'er fairier world. Dim was its little disk, and angel eyes alone could see the phantom in the skies, when first Aaraaf knew her course to be headlong thitherward o'er the starry sea, but when its glory swelled upon the sky as glowing beauty's bust beneath man's eye. Panonfa Pinion Milton. We paused before the heritage of men, and thy star trembled as doth beauty then. Thus in discourse the lovers whiled away the night that waned, and brought no day. They fell, for heaven to them no hope imparts who hear not for the beating of their hearts.